Hey, today we're going to talk about how to use an old Argus camera, film camera, which uses 620 film, which is very difficult to find now. And we're going to modify a roll of 120 film so it'll fit in the camera. Now, I found this camera sitting on a shelf in an apartment complex, and they were getting ready to remodel. So I asked them if I could have the camera, and I got it. And I did some research on it and found out that 620 film is what it uses, and it's not really made anymore or available, but I have a ton of old 120 film. I have a medium format film camera that I used to shoot all the time, haven't shot in a while, and I'd like to get back out and shoot it again. Now, this particular roll of film was expired in March of 2018. So I don't mind putting it in here, seeing if it works, and maybe we're gonna clean this up a little bit. I wanna see if the camera works first before I take it all apart and make any repairs. So that's gonna be our goal today, is just modifying this roll of film to fit in this camera. Hi, I'm Christopher St. Germain, and I'm a professional photographer. I upload about 10,000 images a year to the world's second largest real estate website. I wrote this book, First Impressions Last Longest, and keeps me pretty busy. So I love film cameras, and when I was a kid, I used to go to yard sales and swap meets, and I'd always look for these old cameras like this, try and find one for a quarter or 50 cents. That was a long time ago, and it's been a while. Unfortunately, when I was serving over in Italy, the house that I was growing up in burned down, and my entire camera collection burned down with it. So these types of cameras hold a very special place in my heart, and I like to bring them back to life if I can. So we're going to take a look at this. It was built, they originally released these in the 50s, and I'm not sure how old this particular one is, but it has been sitting on a shelf for several years as a display. I figured if nothing else, I could use it as a display also, but I'm pretty confident that it can be repaired. We're going to remove it from its case here. There you go. And I'll just set this case to the side. Can I snap that? There. Set that over here. And the roll of film. So what's interesting about this camera, it's like a twin lens reflex camera. You can see the Argoflex 75. You actually view what you're shooting through this lens, and then you snap the picture through this lens. So your view is always just a little bit off, and you have to really know your camera to be able to square up your images. This was considered a toy camera because it didn't have all of the bells and whistles that the professional cameras had, like maybe a Ricoh or some of the nicer cameras. So this flips up, and this is where you see your viewfinder right through the top there. You can view everything that you're looking at. This one looks okay, like there's some dust on the lens, there's some dust on the glass for the viewfinder, and that's going to be a future repair. So you see all of these little screws in the top here, they can be removed. All of these screws can be removed. This whole thing can be disassembled, and it can be cleaned and brought back to life. I was playing with this a little bit, and one thing that I noticed was if I press the shutter button right here, it takes a second for the shutter to fully actuate. And I don't know if that's by design or if the shutter is gummed up. So I'm going to have a look at that. Wow, it looked straight red through there, probably because there's a little piece of glass in here that's red. I don't think I'll be able to show you that. That would be a very close up. Maybe I'll work on getting a shot of that. Oh yeah, I can see it kind of sticking there. So all we're going to do today is we're going to take this roll of film and we're going to make it fit into this camera. Open up the back here. This is the take-up roll. This looks like a shoestring that somebody tied on here. I don't think that came originally on the camera. Maybe. It looks like it's adapted for it. Hard to say. Something we'll look at when we take it all the way apart. But this is the take-up roll. And for the take-up roll, the roll of film will go in the bottom here, like this. It'll spread across here, and it will go onto the take-up roll. As you roll this, it will take up the film. Yeah, it looks like it's sticking a little bit, but we'll worry about that later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this roll of film. We're going to trim it to fit. And what I find cool about these kinds of cameras is that it's literally, it's just a box. Like, it's a box that captures light. And that's all cameras really are to this day, even with the digital sensor. The sensor has replaced the film. So the light goes into the box and the sensor sees it and it absorbs the light, and that's what creates the picture. It's the same thing with film, but the film has a chemical on it that enables the film to capture the light, and then you have to process it so that you can see the photo. And it takes longer. You're not going to be able to see what you have captured until you've processed the film. So I'm going to pop this open. There we go. I've got my handy dandy manicure kit here, and it's got some tools that we can use for this. These little scissors and, believe it or not, nail clippers are going to help us make this fit inside this. But before I get too far, I would just like to take this lens wiper and my Rocket Air and just kind of make sure everything's well dusted through here. We don't need any more dust than is necessary. And like I said, this has been sitting on a shelf, but it seems like it was in its case pretty much the whole time. There goes some dust there. It's best if you tip it upside down so that as the dust falls, it doesn't fall back into the camera. There we go. And I've got the lens wipe. Basically like a wet wipe, but made for camera lenses. Pull that out. I'm just going to go over the inside with this. Just if there's any dust in there. They make a kit for this so that you can replace the foam seals if there's any light leaks. We'll look at that after we get the roll of film back, just in case there are any light leaks or anything. Then we'll be able to repair that, assuming that the camera works in the first place. And I don't see why it won't, other than the potential sticky shutter. Everything else seems to be very simple. So this will be its first cleaning in 50 years probably. Interesting to think that this camera is potentially older than me. There is some schmutz here on the, I assume this is aluminum. It's got this little slider on here. I don't know if you can see that, but it says INST in time. I suppose that's instant, and maybe it's supposed to have like a timed release. Not sure how well that would work, but that might be what's causing the stickiness if it thinks it's supposed to wait before it fires. Okay. Something right there on the edge, might be a wear mark. Toss that to the side. I'm going to soft cloth the lenses one last time. Just make sure there's no moisture or residue on there. And then I'm going to blow it out one more time just to make sure everything's nice and dry. Ooh. Looks like a baby spider. Just a big piece of lint. Not sure. I got a bunch of other old cameras that I would like to build up as well. I have a special one that a friend gave me, so in a future video I will be bringing that camera back to life. That camera should work perfectly well as also, except that they used to take a mercury battery, and we don't have mercury batteries any longer because they tend to poison the earth. So we have to get an adapter, and I will order all of that and get it in. We'll make a new video. There is some like oiliness and dust and grease that we got on our wet wipe, so it definitely had some dirt to it. Now, if we can look inside the back here, I'll close this down. You can see that this roll of film is not going to fit in there. It's much too wide. So the idea is that we take these edges and trim them off, and that's supposed to help this larger roll of film fit inside this smaller body. So I'm going to use the nail clippers, and it basically needs to be that size, which is exactly where this rim is on the roll of film. I'm just going to trim that rim off of each side, and then we're going to hope it fits. So utilizing the nail clippers, I'm going to pop that, go around the edge, just work it a little bit. I should have probably not cut that piece of tape that was holding the film before I started this. We'll know better next time. All right, that edge is already getting soft. I think it's all going to peel off at once. There it goes. Yep, here it comes. Much thicker than my fingernails. There we go. Isn't this exciting? The tension's so thick you could cut it with a knife. All right. Any hangers on there? Let's see. I shouldn't have cut that yet. Make sure that stays tight. Hope we don't get any light in there. I could probably put some gaff tape on there, but we're almost done. Like I said, it's an old roll of film. Test roll. Make sure we can get this going. Then we'll go around Fort Worth and shoot some interesting old items. Give it that 1950s era look using a 1950s camera. This is coming off. There we go. Goes pretty quick once you get that first little snippet out of the way. Rocking it back and forth seems to help. There. Now, that should be the exact same size as that. That's great. Knock off any hangers on there. Same size on this side. So let's look at how this goes in here. There's two levers in there that should snap in to the holes that are in the roll of film. It still feels like it's a little bit wide. Not super easy to do from this angle. Alright, I'll pull this back where I can see. I was hoping it would go right in. I've never used a camera like this before, but I have used the Mamiya medium format. So this is considered a medium format camera, but because of the size of the film, this, try it like this. Oh, I got that side to go. Oh yeah, put a little pressure on it and it went right in. You know, you're always too delicate first. And now this will pull up. Should wrap through here. This is going to go on here. I don't know if that's directional. It just slots right in there. So, put the tab in there. Start the roll. I'm going to tear this extra little piece off. Put this over here so you can see what's going on. And you can see it's starting to take up on there. Now there is a long leader for this film. And then there should be like a number 1, a little warning track before the actual film comes out. So we'll take these arrows up to the roll. Right about there. And I'm going to close this. And you should be able to see through the back here when we get to number 1. Not seeing anything yet. Ooh, there's a 1. There's a 1 right there. So that should mean, oh no, that's not a 1. Ha ha! It fooled me. That's an arrow. All right. It's a little tricky to roll. I'm going to flip this around. Roll it with my other hand. Probably the first time this thing has had a roll in it in decades. It says something through there, but it's not a big 1. Interesting. past it. Not sure. How's this for the first image that this camera has ever taken? What am I looking at? I'm looking at that tripod right there that this camera is sitting on. Exciting. That says, it says 5. There's only 10 photos on one of these rolls. Might have a bunch of pictures of a tripod. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it definitely says 6. So I may have gone past the first 3 pieces, first 3 shots, and gone to the 6th, taking 2 pictures of this tripod. So I'm going to take this outside. I'm going to grab some shots with it. I'm going to get it processed, and we'll see if it even works. And then after that, we'll know whether it's worth fixing or not, or whether it's just going to be a display piece on my shelf. All right. If you're interested in this kind of thing, or you have any questions about old or new cameras, then I'm happy to help, happy to answer any questions you might have. And I'll see you in the next video. God bless.